Hello everybody, welcome to the Football Philosophies channel. Just over an hour before kick-off and it's West Brom away at the Hawthorns. I was just watching a bit of the Southampton Wolves game before we came live. What a goal by Danny Ings. What a goal. And a clever little play spotted by Ali McCoist, is it, who's the co-commentator, where Nathan Redmond just blocked off the defender as the ball came into the box. And it's an absolutely brilliant finish by Danny Ings. What a goal. 2-hour game this afternoon. Obviously desperate for these points. City are not going to stop. They're proper on a roll, aren't they? You know, even the teams, the teams where they come up against, like Liverpool last week and Spurs this week, the other big clubs, if you like, who you're expecting to get, points off them. They're not even getting anywhere near that. They beat Liverpool 4-1. They beat Spurs 3-0. We can't do that to teams at the bottom of the league. We've lost to Sheffield United. We beat Sheffield United 3-2. We beat Fulham 2-1. We beat West Brom 1-0. We're scraping wins against the bottom of the league, and City are blowing away the teams at the top of the league. So I don't think City's form is going to dip anytime soon. They've got another game against Everton away. It's a real tough game. City have got Everton away, haven't they, on Wednesday? One of the games, I think they've got, is it 2 games in hand at the moment, or what? Whichever. It's a game in hand that they've got to play, and Everton away is a really tricky fixture for anyone. So you never know your luck, but I fancy City will just blow them away. But we've got to just keep doing our stuff. You never know. You keep winning your games. You hope for your opponents to slip up. And we need these 3 points at West Brom. And if we don't get the 3 points at West Brom, we've got to start looking over our shoulder for the top 4 place as well. It's not just about in case City slip up. We also want to keep ourselves ahead of the field when it comes to the top 4. I mentioned on a little show that I did on Friday that 1 or 2 people have said to me, we shouldn't just be aiming for top 4. Look, if you can't get first, you want second. If you can't get second, you want third, and so on. It's as simple as that. So we want to be in the top 4. If we're in the top 4, obviously we're in the Champions League. That's why you want to be in it. So we want to be in the Champions League, don't we? If you're not in it, you can't win it. So we've got to win this game. I've been having a look at the newspapers. The Manchester Evening News and the Independent have gone with the exact same lineup. They reckon it'll be De Gea in goal and the usual back 4: Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. They've gone for McTominay and Fred. They've both gone for Bruno. And then Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford. That's the Manchester Evening News and the Independent. That seems to be a pretty normal team. It's a team that you would expect to play quite often recently. Greenwood's getting plenty of game time on the right, Rashford on the left. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were correct, although I've just seen a supposed leaked team on Twitter. Quite a lot of people saying it's going to be Rashford on the right today with Cavani at 9 and Martial on the left. I hope Martial plays. I do think he's our best wide player by a country mile, if I'm honest. So I hope Martial does play. But as I say, the Evening News and the Independent have gone with Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford. The Evening Standard have gone very similar. They've got the exact same lineup, except they've got Bailey in at centre-back for Lindelof. Whether they've got any info about Lindelof maybe struggling with his back again, I don't know. That back injury needs to go away. But the Standard have got the same, so they've got Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford up front, but they've got Bailey in place of Lindelof. I found 2 pretty much off-the-wall ones, really. I'll start with the Mirror. The Mirror have gone with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Axel, Maguire and Telles. So they've got Axel and Telles in the lineup, the Mirror, which surprised me. And they've got McTominay and Fred. They've got Bruno, and then they've got Greenwood, Martial and Rashford. That's the Mirror. And the Sun. The Sun has blown my mind. This, I don't know whether they're just drawing them out of a hat or whether they've got some inside information. I really don't see it. It's one right out of the blue. The Sun have gone for David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Telles, McTominay and Fred, Bruno, and a top 3 of Mata, Cavani and Dan James. That's the Sun's predicted lineup. So I don't know whether they've got any information from somewhere that the rest of us are not privy to. But obviously there's a few different ones there. This this sort of leaked team that people are talking about, as I say, I've not seen the full team, but quite a lot of people are saying that it is Rashford and it is Cavani and it is Martial. Doesn't say this in it, but obviously we expect it to be Bruno at 10. To me, it's still, we often say that we're playing with too many forwards, and a lot of people wonder why we say that. And Greenwood, if it's Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford, they're absolute, we've spoke about it time and time again. Greenwood and Rashford are actually strikers playing on the wing. They're not proper wingers. So if we've got Greenwood, Cavani and Rashford, even though they do get back behind the ball, I put a tweet out yesterday showing City's team shape against Spurs when Spurs were in possession. And City have got all 11 men behind the ball quite quickly as soon as Spurs get the ball anywhere near the halfway line, and they just settle back into 11 men behind the ball. What I tried to explain in that tweet yesterday is obviously when we've got Rashford and Greenwood playing on the flanks, obviously they get back. They're not amateur players. They do understand that they've got defensive chores as well as being able or trying to score goals or make goals. But they tend to be more reactionary. They sort of chase back if their fullback's got the ball, or if their fullback gets forward and the ball's on that side of the field, tend to just track their fullback. Obviously this isn't all the time either, but it's not just quite so natural. If we're watching City yesterday, soon as Spurs have got the ball, everybody settles back into position behind the ball. Everybody, all 11 men. And the wide players don't just track back, and they're not actually chasing back. People seem to think that we're talking about, their fullbacks running up the wing and they've got to chase after them and get to. I don't mean that. Even when their centre backs are passing the ball between each other, maybe they give it to a fullback or into midfield and they get it back again. City have got 11 players behind the ball and saying, "Come and break us down." And this is a team that's easily well clear at the top of the league, and they're scoring. I know they've not scored as many goals as we have, but they are scoring plenty of goals as well. So it's exactly how you're supposed to play, and it's exactly how the top teams play. Team news should be out any minute now. Can't wait to see this one. So getting back to the what I was just talking about there, a front three of Greenwood and Rashford on the flanks with Martial or Cavani at number 9. I don't mind which. But that's giving you two players on the flanks who are actual strikers. Bruno's an extremely attacking number 10. He's not really in midfield these days. He's more of a support striker. So it's just too many forwards. Team straight away is Martial in it.
Martial's in it.
Right. Okay.
It's just Greenwood for Martial, and the rest is as you would expect.
Right. Okay. So it's
De Gea in goal. Lindelof and Maguire at centre half. Wan-Bissaka and Shaw at fullbacks.
Yeah.
McTominay and Fred in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
Rashford probably from the right, Martial from the left, Fred at 10, and Fernandes at 10 and Cavani at 9.
Right, okay. I think that's near as damn it the best team you could expect. It's not the best team it's not the best team that I'd pick. I'd pick one or two other players even more than that different. But for what you could hope for, I think that's the best team you could really hope for. McTominay's in it. Martial's in it. I don't care whether it's Greenwood or Rashford on the other flank, but Martial's got to play. This is what I was just leading to. Martial is more of the type of player who settles back into, look, this is West Brom. I know it's West Brom, and I know we will be dominating the game, but they will have the odd little spell, and that's when we need our players to be naturally behind the ball. And I believe Martial does that job correctly. So it's not quite as outlandish as out there as like three proper attackers. When Martial plays wide left, he plays the game more like a genuine wide left midfield player, like he did at Anfield. And I know you'll say, "Oh, that's Liverpool and we were under the cosh all the time." That's true. But no matter who it's against, when the opposition get the ball, if they have any little spells, you need your team to settle back into proper shape first. And I believe Martial does that better than Greenwood and better than Rashford, apart from being a better player anyway. So hopefully today, because it seems to me that Martial, if he doesn't score a goal, everybody thinks he's played terribly. So hopefully he can get a goal or two today. And I'm not taking West Brom lightly either. They'll defend well. I've noticed, I mentioned this on the show on Friday, they were letting 4s and 5s in at first, weren't they? when Allardyce took over. It's still a lot. I know it's a lot, but they're only letting 2 a game in now, and they've let 2 a game in I think in 6 out of the last 7 games they've let 2 in. So if we can't get 2 today, there's something wrong. We've got to score at least 2, and surely 2 against West Brom will be enough. Anybody asking any questions yet?
Yes, Jack Berens, what are your opinions on our centre-backs, Ricky?
I think they're okay, Jack. I do think they both just... We've touched on this before. Obviously, they're not Stam and Johnson. Obviously, they're not Ferdinand and Vidic. But I do think they're perfectly decent centre-backs. And most of the time... look, they are going to have the odd slip-up. They are going to get beat in the air occasionally or beaten for pace occasionally. But I'm absolutely adamant that no matter how good your centre-backs are, your team shape when defending is absolutely of paramount importance. If you think back, if you can remember, Jack, if you can remember as far back as Stam and Johnson, which is as good a centre-back pairing. We won a treble with Stam and Johnson as 2 centre-backs. It's as good a centre-back pairing as you could imagine. But if we were in a game where there was any defending to do, which obviously in every game there's some defending to do, but if we were in any against any half-decent team, your midfield 4 of Beckham, Keane, Scholes and Giggs all settle back into a proper 4-4-2. And if Dwight was playing, everybody thinks of him as an out-and-out striker. Dwight York used to drop in to help if we were really under it, like a number 10 if you like, as would Teddy if Teddy was playing. So we had a proper 4-4-2. So even with as good a centre-back pair, probably Stam and Johnson, probably as good a centre-back pairing as there has been in the Premier League. You know, make no mistake, they won the league title 3 years running, they won the treble. So a fantastic centre-back pairing. But the team shape was good. They didn't have as much defending to do because they had Beckham, Keane, Scholes and Giggs in front of them. And not only that, because you've got those players in front of you, especially the wide players in what I'm going to mention now. I mean, they're all equally as important. But with the wide players helping out on the flanks, like Beckham helping Neville, Giggs being back, helping Dennis Irwin, your centre-backs are also not getting pulled out of position. So it's all about the team shape. And as I've just said, they're not the best centre-back pairing we've ever had, but I believe they're perfectly adequate, and I believe that if you had a proper team like that with a proper team shape, I don't think they'd be getting anywhere near as much stick from the fans as they do get. And the main reason for that would be that we wouldn't be conceding as many goals, and that's all it'd be down to. And we wouldn't concede as many goals if our team shape was better. Anyone else?
Mr. Fister, Rick, how much of our players not tracking back is because of coaching, and how much is down to the players themselves?
It is a little bit of each. They can be look, they must be coaching them to do it properly. They must be coaching them to do it. Well, it's all right saying that. I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think it's more down to coach. Is it more down to coaching? Look, some players just do it naturally. A winger, when you're a winger, you do it naturally, don't you? I don't think they have to coach Dan James to get back in position when Dan James plays. And I'm not singing Dan James's praises here, i.e. he's got to be in the team. I'm not saying that. All players have got different strengths. There's no point denying that Marcus Rashford's going to score more goals than Dan James, but there's also no point denying that Dan James is going to settle back into his team shape better than Marcus Rashford will. You know, and he'll also try and get crosses in from Dan James tries to get to the dead ball. So they've all got different strengths. But I think that's just I think it's probably more a natural thing really than a coaching thing.
Yeah. It's, like you've said, it's a combination of the two. Probably a better example than James there is in today's team, Marshall. So a lot of people are talking about, Cavani's now in, so Marshall's out. Marshall just has a better understanding of what's required in other positions.
Yeah, I think so.
When Marshall plays on the left, he just adapts his game to play on the left and takes those defensive responsibilities upon himself without needing to be coached. Yeah,
look at the goal against West Ham in the cup during the week. If you look at that goal from where it starts by Luke Shaw making a tackle on the edge of just outside his own box. and the ball breaks loose to Martial. Now, obviously, you can't say every time. You can't say every time. But Martial is going to be there more often than Rashford would be there. And Dan James would be there quite, just as often probably as Martial. So when they're moving forward with the ball, I think the ball comes across from the other flank to the player who short tackles. So even when the ball's moving up the other flank, you need to be settling back into your position, even when the ball's on the other flank. So you need to be back in position all the team, and we get that goal. We get that goal entirely. Really, I put a clip on Twitter and said it's all about Martial. This goal. Loads of people having a go at me saying it's about the touch by Rashford. It's a great finish by McTominay. All of those things are true. All of those things are true. But you've still got to get the ball from somewhere, and we get the ball because Martial is in his defensive shape. Shaw wins a tackle, Martial's there to get the loose ball instantaneously, and then he runs it up the field. Maybe if we had somebody, because Martial started at 9 in that game, but by that stage Cavani had come on, hadn't he? And Martial switched to the left. So I believe if Martial hadn't switched to the left, look, we might have scored through a different reason. Obviously, I'm not saying we wouldn't have won the game. Might well have scored a different goal. But I believe if Martial hadn't switched to the left by that stage, I don't believe we would have scored that particular goal.
Zahir, Rick, I understand you wanting our middle defensive players to be safe with the ball, but surely our forward players should have licence to take risks, especially when Bruno and Rashi have such output. It's not that they haven't got licence to take risks, it's you've got to be able to understand when a risk is worth taking.
Yes.
Because even when it's there worth taking, you're still not going to pull it off 100% of the time. But you've got to reduce the amount of times that you take the risk.
Risk so and reward. You need to balance the risk and reward, don't you?
Of course.
We try too many things too often that fail too often. Look, you've only got to watch City against Spurs yesterday. Even their players are occasionally going to try a difficult dribble or a difficult pass, but nowhere near, or a shot from a long distance as well. You don't see that very often from City. You will see it, and there might be one or two people in the comments who might say, remember Kompany's goal for City when they had to beat Leicester when they, he scored from about 40 yards or some ridiculous distance. It was a fantastic goal. But I will still say, percentage-wise, City don't shoot from such distances as often as we do. They don't try as many long balls. Long balls. They scored a goal from a long ball from the keeper, didn't they? Yesterday they did, but they only try that long ball when it's really on. It's not very often they'll try it when it's not really on, and we do that too often. And then also mazy dribbles where you actually lose the ball. You see Sterling dribble it a lot, but you don't see him lose it very often. And I think some of our players dribble it a bit too often and lose it too often. So you have got to take risks in football, but you need to balance. You need to balance the amount of time you do it with the amount of success that you might have. One of the things that I put a clip up the other day, I put a clip up of Marcus having a shot from. I always go by the shades of grass outside the box. So the first shade of grass, I think, is 6 yards wide. I'm pretty sure it is, or 6 metres. I always say you need to be in that first shade. It's a dark shade at Old Trafford. You need to be in that shade, or else you're too far out. And Marcus had a shot the other night against West Ham where he was only just in the second shade, but only just in it as well. It's not like he was almost into the next. So it was far too far out. And I made a comment when I put that clip up. I remember him scoring a free kick at Stamford Bridge, which may have been that far out, but I would bet money on it that he's never scored in the first team from that distance in open play. So although you can't, your brain's not a computer, but you do play. When you play the game naturally, your mind is like a computer. I mean, obviously, if he was another 10 yards further out, he wouldn't have shot. It's just a natural thing. If he was 10 yards further out than that, obviously he wouldn't have shot. It's just stupid. So that's what comes into your mind when you're playing the game. And I believe he's that far out that really that should come into his mind. No, this is too far out, and just pass it and move. But he had a shot against West Ham the other night. It hit a defender and bounced away. Plenty of power in it. He caught it well enough. But if the defender wouldn't have blocked it, it would have started to die. The keeper would have saved it easily, I think, if the defender wouldn't have blocked it. So you just need to have that in your mind. And if you have a shot from a distance, when you've played a lot of games for the first team, when you are a striker, and when you've had lots of shots from distance, you should actually understand, I ain't going to score from here. I've never scored from here. It's too far out.
Josh Harper, when you look at Gundogan as City's top scorer, he sort of makes the goals and assist obsession look a bit silly.
Yeah, Gundogan was regarded as a defensive midfield player when they signed him, wasn't he? The goal he scored yesterday was an absolutely beautiful goal. I thought the keeper should have done better. He definitely should have done better. But the way he ran into space in the box, when I say space, there was no space. He ran into the tiniest little gap, and Sterling just rolled the ball. A 3-yard pass. I won't name names, but some of our players, virtually all of our players, I can imagine Anthony Marshall trying to play that pass to Gundogan. A 4-yard pass in between two players as he was running onto it. People don't appreciate the beauty of these little short passes. It's a little short pass by Sterling, 3 or 4 yards, and he's running onto it, takes a touch and then hits it. And I think Martial's got that in his locker, and I think Van der Beek's got that in his locker. But most of our other players would be thinking about crossing it or having a shot themselves, rather than actually just seeing that run and seeing that little gap just to put a 3 or 4 yard pass in it. But Gundogan's stats, he's got 10 league goals, I think, hasn't he? And I think he's only got, I saw it on Sky yesterday, I think he's only got 14 league goals in his career before this season. So he might get 14 in a year.
Super chat from Creed of Toms. Bruno's performance versus Everton was one of his best. 90 minutes in, he was vitally holding up the ball. Rashford, as always, running into 5 defenders.
Yeah. I noticed Rashford dribbled the ball and lost it in injury time and lost it near the edge of their penalty area. Luckily, it went out for a throw-in to us. But if Marcus would have ran... Look, we'll never know what happens now. Once you do something different, everything changes. But he ran the ball towards the edge of their box. So he was going to try and... Well, he did try and take the man on, and he won a throw-in for us. And you might say, well, that's all right, winning a throw-in. But it's the decision that he makes to actually try and take somebody on when we're winning 3-2 and it's in injury time. He should really have ran it towards the flag. And if he'd have ran it towards the flag, he might have held it for another 5 or 10 seconds, perhaps, before getting a throw-in, or maybe even getting a corner. So it could have made all the difference. Don't just think that that's 10 seconds knocked off the time. I don't mean that. It just changes. Everything else changes after that. So if you just do as many things right as you can, and then hopefully, the bad things don't happen to you.
Craig Virgo, Ricky, is Luke Shaw a starter now for England, in your opinion?
I saw rumours yesterday that he's going to be in the squad in March. There's a couple of international games. Are they friendlies? Or I think they might be World Cup qualifiers, actually. But either way, there's England games in March, isn't there? And there's rumours flying around that Luke Shaw is going to be in that squad, and people sort of suggesting he should be in the team. I've been saying this for a long time, even when people... There was a time... around the time that we played Sheffield United at Bramall Lane last year, and was it a 3-3 draw? There was a time when people were saying Williams has got to come in for him, and I was saying, nah, I've seen Williams twice. He's not. It's Luke Shaw, definitely. And then when we signed Telles, everybody was. I still see people now saying Telles should be playing. Telles should be playing. No, he shouldn't. Luke Shaw is better. I can tell he's better. I only have to watch him for 2 games. So. Is Chilwell obviously for England, plays at left back sometimes. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. I'm sure there must be someone else, but the last World Cup, Ashley Young was playing left back for England throughout the World Cup. I think he started every game, and maybe the one that was a dead rubber he didn't play. But I think Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw is the best. Is possibly the best left back in the Premier League. Let alone English left back.
Prodigy King, Rick, I know your love for Dwight York, but what were your thoughts on Andy Cole?
Andy Cole, I thought obviously a great goal scorer, and your memory does play tricks, and maybe this will happen to me if I'm still around in another 10 or 15 years, and I look back at some of today's players. But when I see on MUTV, they have a programme where they show it's called All the Goals, and they pick one player and they show all the goals that player scored for the club, and some of the goals that I see now from Andy Cole absolutely blow my mind. What a player he looks! He looks a better player now than I used to think he was. You know what I mean? Some of the goals that I see that he scored are unbelievable. But as a natural finisher, I've hardly seen a better player than our manager today. I've hardly seen a better finisher. And I used to say at the time, and I'll stick with it now, the amount of goals he used to score from the bench and the amount of goals that he scored, per minute on the pitch, if you like. Because he didn't get, he got some starts, of course, but he didn't get a hell of a lot of starts. But I honestly thought at the time, and I'll say it now, I think we had a 40 goal a season man in all competitions there, if he'd have played all the time. And there are people who get, obviously not going to get that every season, but look, why not? Ronaldo and Messi get. I'm not putting him in their category as a player, but as a finisher, and playing in a team that was winning leagues and creating loads of chances and scoring loads of goals. I believe Ollie was a 30-odd to 40 goal a season man. He was an astonishing finisher, absolutely astonishing. So my favourite pairing, and they still played. Don't forget, they used to mix and match it and chop and change it. He did get some games. Ollie, he played with Dwight occasionally. He rarely played with Coley because they were both the main number 9s really. And he might have played with Teddy quite often, and he played with Dwight quite often. But he scored goals. Don't think he only scored goals from the bench. He scored goals when he started as well. And I honestly believe we had a 30 to 40 goal a season man. So as much as I liked Andy Cole, and he was a top player, to answer your question, I think he was our second best number 9, even though he was the number 9 first choice. A little bit like now, really. I'm convinced Anthony Marshall's our best left wing. I know he's playing wide left today. But I'm absolutely adamant he's miles away the best left winger we've got, and he often gets left out.
I remember you telling me about having looked at the statistics from, obviously Ollie was known as the super sub.
Yeah. Van Nistelrooy. You're going to talk
about?
No,
it was Cole, wasn't it? That you looked at. I'm sure it was Cole, and you looked at it, and although Solskjaer was known as the super sub, Solskjaer actually scored more goals per starting minute.
I'll tell it. Yeah. I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but we had when we had Ruud van Nistelrooy. Obviously Ruud was taking penalties, so you have to take the penalties out for it to work. But I think that's fair, because you have got an advantage over somebody else if you're taking pens and somebody else isn't taking pens. But one given season, Ruud van Nistelrooy was the top scorer. I think he got Player of the Year. Pretty sure he did. And Ollie was the super sub. But Ruud, obviously Ruud rarely started on the bench. But he did start on the bench a couple of times. And one was at Villa Park, for example, in a cup tie. And he come off the bench and scored twice. But obviously, with only him coming off the bench so infrequently, his ratio of goals per substitute appearance was high. So I worked out this particular season, and it's true, if you take the penalties out of the equation, that Ollie scored more goals per start than Ruud did, and Ruud scored more goals per substitute appearance than Ollie did. It's astonishing, it really wasn't, but it is true. It is true.
Tom and Rick, how would you react if Ollie got a contract extension? I will genuinely cry.
Does he mean he'll cry tears of joy, or?
No, I'm going to go on a limb and say no, he doesn't mean that. How would you react?
How would I react? I don't think I'd be happy, to be honest. I don't think it's going as well as people think it is going. I really don't. Yeah, I really don't. Obviously,
with him, as you've just mentioned there, he was such an astonishing finisher, Solskjaer.
Yeah.
Sometimes wish that he'd just concentrate on that.
Yeah.
Just just go and teach these lads how to finish. Just
Yeah.
focus on that.
Yeah.
Let's have a general manager in,
Yeah.
and you go and be a finishing coach.
You go and be a finishing coach. Yeah.
Red Olsen. Who did I see put that before? Van Basten. Someone saying Van Basten was prolific. Did you ever get a chance to see Van Basten play?
I never saw him live, but I saw him on the TV loads of time. What a footballer! I'm a massive fan of Dutch football. I've said that a few times on this channel in different shows that I've done. We don't normally touch on Dutch football on this show. Well, I'll tell you how much a fan of Dutch football I am. In 1974, they got to the World Cup final, and the starting 11 was Jan Youngblood in goal, Wim Zerbia, Wim Rijsbergen, Harry Hahn, and Rudy Krol at the back. In midfield, it was Wim Jansen, Wim van Hanegem, and Johan Neeskens, and up front it was Johnny Rep, Johan Cruyff, and Robbie Rensenbrink. That was the starting lineup in 1974 in the World Cup final, and that was when I fell in love with Dutch football.
Would you while you're on that, I'll give a shout out to Brian van Linden in the chat saying, I'm buzzing Ricky, I'm a huge fan of yours, love from the Netherlands.
Nice
Maybe
one,
he'll
mate.
come back in the chat now. There he is, love you Ricky. JD, I have no idea why Fred seems to be undroppable. He's shocking.
Fred seems to be on
Probably won't get in that Holland team.
I don't think he'll get in that Dutch team, no. I don't think he'll get in that Dutch team.
Mohammed, would you want Nagelsmann if Ollie goes?
Why are we talking about Ollie going?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why we're talking about Ollie going. I mean, look, Nagel, why not? I mean, look, any manager who's done it, you never know how they're going to do at your club. People level different things at different managers. It was levelled at Pochettino that he'd never won anything. So many people were saying that. Ridiculous comment. What chance have you got of winning something if you're not the manager of Liverpool, United, City, Chelsea? You know what I mean? Spurs, although they've become... If you think about what Pochettino did at Spurs, I know I've gone off at a tangent here, but Spurs were nobodies. They were never even in the Champions League, and he took over them, and they were in the Champions League about 4 years in 5. And they became people. They actually think about it. We talk about the Big Six now.
Yeah.
It was the Big Three, was it? Was it United, Liverpool, and Arsenal? It was the Big Three: United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. And then Chelsea got money, it became the Big Four. Then City got money, it became the Big Five. And Spurs got a new manager, and it became a Big Six. Yeah. So don't underestimate the job he did there.
Topic that we were talking about the other day here, Josh Harper, Rick, Maddison, Grealish, Foden, Saka, Mount, Rashford, Greenwood, Barkley, Sancho, Barnes. Which 3 would you take for England?
Which 3 would? What are we starting lineup as a 3?
You might have to rephrase the question, Josh. But that's how.
I think that's what he means. If you're going to play with a front 3, I wouldn't play with a front 3, obviously. But if I was, obviously Kane's got to start, and I'd feel sorry for.
But Kane's not in that list.
Why is Kane not on?
Kane's not in that list.
Is Calvert-Lewin on that list?
Well, I think. No, this is in the wide position.
Oh, it's just the wide positions. Got it. So he's not meaning that. He's meaning which 3 wide players would you take as in your squad?
I think so. Yeah.
Go on, then read them out again.
Maddison. Grealish.
Well, he's not a wide player, is he? Go on.
Well, Maddison really plays from that left side, doesn't he?
I watched him yesterday. He played like a number 10 to me. But go on.
Yeah.
Barnes was playing wide left.
Maddison, Grealish. Sorry, Grealish plays from the
Grealish,
left. Maddison
Grealish.
Plays like 10. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, Maddison plays at 10. Grealish, I was talking about, plays kind of from the left.
I'd have a Grealish.
So Maddison, Grealish, Foden, Saka, Mount, Rashford, Greenwood, Barkley, Sancho, and Barnes.
That's a right tough one. Definitely Grealish. Definitely Foden. And then the rest can scrap over one spot. Barnes looked good yesterday. He does look a player, yeah. He does look a player, but I wouldn't like to say I've seen him often enough, but he looked brilliant yesterday, Barnes. But Grealish definitely, and Foden's going to be...
Obviously there's no Sterling in that group either, is there?
No, I think they're just talking about wide left players, aren't they? Well, Foden played left yesterday, but he played right last week, didn't he? I think he can play anywhere, that Foden. He's going to be a world beater, him, I think.
Yeah. there's a few people asking in the questions what your thoughts were on Ronaldo when he was at United. He's getting asked a lot in here, and it's just come up again.
When he first signed, I've got to be honest, you can't get everything right. When he first signed, I didn't like him at all. I thought he did some of the things that I don't like players doing today. He held on to it too long, he dribbled it too long, he shot from silly positions too often. But what he's done now, what he's done with his career, it's just absolute unbelievable. It doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
I can't find the words to say how good his career has been. And when he was first with United, I wasn't happy with him, and it's a little bit like I forget which record label it is. There was a record label that the Beatles took their stuff to, and they refused to sign him, didn't they? So that's how I feel about Ronaldo. So you can't get everything right. It would have been.
Do you know what's interesting about the Ronaldo thing? Is that he obviously there's a few factors with it, in that his position obviously changed slightly. I always thought it was interesting with Ruud van Nistelrooy was infuriated with Ronaldo.
Yes, yeah.
He was on his he left, and then Ronaldo followed him to Madrid, and then he left Madrid. He was I want my wide midfield player to get the ball in the box.
Yeah.
But then after
Which is what I wanted.
After Van Nistelrooy departed Madrid, Ronaldo kind of then took over that mantle, really, started playing more as a forward. So his game changed in terms of his position, but also playing at Madrid. And I don't know if this is because of the lads he was playing with, or because of the coaching structure at Madrid and the type of philosophy that they try and instill there. Is that he started to play better one and two touch football.
Yes.
He started to pop the ball about and then really perfect his finishing, his finishing ability, which is has been absolutely phenomenal, and his records speak for himself. But he started to play the game in that way, where he was trying to pop it off and then arrive in the box and finish chances off. It wasn't always about long mazy runs and taking loads of people on, which is what his game kind of was at United, which then really brings you back round to question United's kind of coaching philosophy in general. Yeah. What is it that they're promoting? What's being promoted now, and how that changed at Madrid? But I do think that Ronaldo's game changed considerably.
Definitely became a better player, didn't he? There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. He also started to. JD's just put Ronaldo exploded because of Benzema's selflessness and brilliance.
What a player he is.
Yeah.
What a player he is. How are we doing for time? What time is it?
We're on 1:30.
Go on, another 2, eh?
Johan, if Bruno took the sloppy passes and stupid shots out of his game, would you rate him higher?
Of course I would, yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. And sometimes he does do that. Sometimes he plays really well, and sometimes he has spells in games. It's proper frustrating. He has spells in games where he might play brilliantly for half an hour and then suddenly try 2 or 3 daft things, and maybe his confidence has grown. I'm doing well here, I'll try this, and I don't know. Look, when he keeps it simple, he is great. When he's playing too many long balls and too many fancy passes, some of his simple passes let him down more often as well. I think when you're in the rhythm of playing simple passes, I think it's a little bit like you're practicing during a game, and your simple passes become more natural to you. And I believe that whenever if I did a thread on Bruno, there'd be 3 or 4 passes in there. When he's having one of his poorer games, there'll be 3 or 4 passes. There was one the other week. I did one the other week, didn't I? The one where he tried to pass it 30 yards and it hit Matic on the heel and bounced the other way, and Matic was only 2 yards, 5 yards to his left or something. Sometimes even his simple passes go wrong when he's having one of them games, if you like. One more question.
JG, what were your thoughts on Park Ji-sung?
Loved him. My type of player.
Yeah.
Fantastic energy. Obviously, everybody knows that. Everybody talks about his energy and him getting round the field. But he played the game in the right manner. Really
technically underappreciated.
Technically underappreciated. He gets the ball on the floor, looks for the little short passes, looks to receive it again, looks for a short pass again. Just a underrated, super, and he knew what a goal was as well. He could finish. He could get a goal. Great player, Park Ji-sung. Great player. Is that it?
Craig Virgo, Ricky, I bet you love the Barcelona team with Iniesta in it.
Oh, just a bit.
Yeah.
Just a bit. Apart from when they played us, of course. Knocking them out of the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah.
was unbelievable achievement. I thought we played them in the space of about 5 seasons. We played them in 1 semi-final and 2 finals. They battled us in both the finals, but we did beat them in a semi. I think we drew 0-0 in the new camp, didn't we? And then beat them 1-0 at Old Trafford with an absolute stunner from Scholes. But I think that was just as they were becoming the great team that they were. But they were already a great team, and it was a fantastic win, knocking them out. And that was the year we beat Chelsea in the final, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that it? Should we wrap up?
Yeah. Thomas Omar, just before we go. Rick, could you please do a video on your days managing Sunday League? There'd be a bit of a waste of time. I'm not sure too many of the audience here would know the players you were talking about.
No. I suppose I could do one. It doesn't matter if too many watch it or not, does it?
No.
I could tell if you. I'll tell you what I might do. I might. Some of the funny stories that happen around Sunday League, I might do a little video telling a few stories, like when our manager was in a prison cell one night overnight because he'd been caught fighting in town. Well, that's another story, so he wasn't there the next morning. That's one of the stories I could tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
That'll do, I think. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, everybody. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. You know the game now. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.